There's been a flood of remasters recently, from the Crash trilogy to the Crystal Chronicles remaster. Most of the remasters have been released have been good, but there have been a few that have failed. I'm not going to talk about one of those. I'm going to talk about a game that I enjoyed when it originally came out, and I want to see if the remaster actually holds up today. We are now going to be talking about Bioshock Remastered on the Bioshock collection. Bioshock was first released on August 21st, 2007, developed by Irrational Games and 2K Games. The game was developed as a spiritual successor to the System Shock series, with many similarities being shared with both. One of these similarities is the dystopian setting that System Shock used for their games. The game did really well on release, with most of its scores being 9s and 10s. Fast forward almost a decade later, and we have the release of the Bioshock collection, released on September 13th, 2016. This time the game was developed by Blind Squirrel Games and published by 2K Games. I've never heard of this developer, so I actually had to look them up. They worked on some of the more popular games. Some of them actually surprised me. XCOM 2, Borderlands 2, Prey, Sims 4, and even Troll. These guys seem like they're hired to help out in development for these games. They are still working on some of these games, but it also seems like they're working on their very own IP right now. Honestly, I'm curious how Drifters, their IP, is going to be when it fully releases. Let's get back to Bioshock before I derail myself. The changes between the original and the remaster are pretty much graphical changes. The story hasn't been changed from what I noticed. The story is still the same, and the developers made sure to keep the gameplay the same as the original. It did feel like I was playing the original the first time.
Special.
Alright, time for the story. I'll try to keep it brief, and I'll keep it mostly spoiler free.
You know what?
For those who actually have not played the game.
They were.
You pretty much start in an airplane crash in the middle of the ocean. You swim to the only piece of land nearby and enter a lighthouse. The lighthouse takes you all the way towards Rapture, and this is where the graphical differences really shine between the original and the remaster. The introduction to Rapture was amazing the first time. Seeing it with so much flora and fauna surrounding the city now just makes it all the more mesmerizing. Once you're in the city, you're asked to help a man in escaping the city with his wife and child who he got separated from. You go around taking out the insane citizens of the city while increasing your personal armory of weapons and plasmids, the game's so-called magic. Once you fail at saving the guy's family, you now go on a revenge spree for him and go after the head honcho of the city. After dealing with one of the few sane people left in this city, you finally get to the creator of Rapture. Once he's dealt with, turns out the guy you've been helping actually wanted to control the city. So he's also going to make sure you don't survive. You go through, fight more enemies before you can get to this guy. Once you do, you pretty much fight a mutated monster to the death before you're allowed to actually leave the city. I know I kept the story vague, and there is a lot I would have actually liked to talk about, but I really don't want to spoil a single player game that's, honestly, it's really good. The story is actually really good. I will say this though, it does have 3 endings. Unfortunately, 2 of those endings, the only difference is the tone change. To get these endings, you need to save or harvest the little sisters that are all over the city. The good ending only happens if you save all of them. The other endings only happen if you either harvest some or all of them. The only thing that changes in this case is again the tone of the narrator. The game is good, but the weakest point for me are the bad endings. Now, I mentioned that Bioshock was a spiritual successor to System Shock earlier. This is seen in all of the game. The plasmids are similar to the psionics, dealing with cameras and turrets, hacking things to change or activate. Even the tapes that expand the story of the city are similar to how System Shock did things. I can say that there are a few things that I didn't like coming back into the game. Hacking is something that you're encouraged to do early on in the game to give you an advantage when fighting and when you need to purchase something from the vending machines. Hacking is a tile minigame where you uncover a tile to see what's under it and replace it with a different one. The goal is to connect one end to the other. Early on, it's not so bad. It's slow and you can easily get it all connected before it reaches the end. It's the mid to late game hacking that I honestly get angry at. There are passive plasmids that make hacking easier as you go along the game, but I don't like having a loadout that's mostly hacking when I'm trying to actually survive against some of the stronger enemies. Because of my loadout, hacking became really ugly for me. At one point, there was no way for me to get from one side of the panel to the other. Another where the path was completely blocked and I could not reset my progress for it. And hacking into safes was it just became a chore. Just because the flow moved way too quick and I couldn't find a tile to replace in the time it had. You could also just buy out the hack, but if you're going to do that, it takes a lot of money and it's just not worth it. The only saving grace for these is that you can actually make and purchase auto hacking tools, since the manual hacking, it's just not worth it. Not for me, at least. Didn't expect to talk about hacking that much, but let's go ahead and switch gears and start talking about the gameplay. Bioshock is a regular first-person shooter. It pretty much plays how you would normally expect. Early on, you actually end up finding a wrench, and as you keep going through the game, you end up finding a revolver, a shotgun, a rifle, a grenade launcher, a crossbow, and even a flamethrower. And each of these actually come with 3 different types of ammo. Some of them can be anti-personnel ammunition, explosive shells, and even cryo fluid for the flamethrower. You can also end up getting a camera where you can actually take pictures of the enemies around you to earn research data. And as you obtain more research data, you not only earn the ability to do more damage to them, but you can also earn more plasmids. Some of the more passive ones though. Obtaining new plasmids in the game isn't that difficult to do. Some of them can be found in Rapture, but most of them can be bought through the Gatherer's Garden vending machines. These machines only take one type of currency, which is Atom. And to get Atom, you get it from either saving or harvesting Little Sisters. And to get them, you need to deal with the Big Daddies, who protect the Little Sisters as they gather Atom. Early on, these encounters can be pretty much summed up as mini-bosses. And they do get aggressive and they can really hurt. Once defeated, you can get to the Little Sister and get the Atom. You get more from harvesting, but if you save them, you sort of do get like little bursts of extra Atom, depending on how many you save. While we're on the topic of vending machines, there are 2 other machines. One offers healing items, and the other one offers ammunition. You can hack these to lower the prices of the items on sale, and even unlock specific items that can't be purchased normally. These take cash, which you will find plenty during the adventure. I bring this up for one specific reason. Cash has a max limit. You can only carry 500 at a time. I think this is the first time where I've hit a cap on money. What does the main character do? Does he actually put it in his wallet? In his actual wallet? There are 3 ways to heal in the game: food, med stations, and first aid. Food is all over the place. You can just eat anything in front of you and it will possibly heal you. I say possibly because it can recharge your Eve bar instead, the bar that powers your plasmids. Alcohol refills this specific bar, but there are some that fill one and drop the other. Cigarettes are an example. The med stations are another way to heal. These cost money, and you can hack these to drop the price, but it also adds the benefit of damaging any enemies that want to use it. The last way to heal is with first aid kits. You can carry 9 kits at a time, and you can press a button to just use one instantly. These are a little more uncommon to find, but you can purchase these for the machines too. You can also carry 9 Eve hypos to refill the blue bar, but these are automatically used when the bar is completely empty. The graphics of the game was the main thing with the remaster. I've already mentioned that the opening of the game just looks so much better than the original, and the rest of the game is the same way. You can see the flora outside of the city, and you can sometimes see fish outside too. One of my favorite little additions is seeing starfish just sticking to the glass. The detail in the city also looks good too. The shadows aren't too dark, and some places actually seem a little brighter than the original. The music in the game is more ambiance than anything else. For the most part, there won't be any music that plays, but when you get to key points in the story, there are fitting choices of music that do fit well with what's happening. The boss music has a sharp spike in it that fits well with the urgency and danger of their fights. I can't really mention any other choices because most of the game just has you more entranced with the sounds of leaking water and just the abandoned sounds of the city. There are also points where you're actually going to feel the haunting feeling of it, because you're also going to hear like record players still playing music in the background too. These are more of an uncommon thing, but again, like I've mentioned, for the most part, you're not gonna hear a lot of music. Overall opinion, the game holds up. I wouldn't put the game up like many others did for the original, what with the same endings, and honestly, I think my playstyle did not agree with the hacking for this playthrough, since I wasn't using a lot of hacking plasmids. I still recommend the game because the story is still good. I tried to keep the story vague when I was explaining it, and I kept some very specific details because they are very big spoilers for the game, and I really don't want to spoil it for anyone who has not played it yet. The gameplay still holds up, and the graphics just make it look so much better. The game is available on pretty much all current consoles. It was even just released on the Switch a couple months ago this year. The price is $20 on all platforms, or you can purchase the Bioshock collection for $50 for 1, 2, Infinite, and all the DLC that they have. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video and maybe gave it some thought of trying out the game. I will say that Bioshock 2 improved a lot of things. Most of my own issues gone from that one. But that might be another review for another time.